hotels having international quality cannot be built up unless you are able to recruit the best talent in the world. I don't know how, but this man has been able to entice and to retain global talent of the highest order in the hospitality industry. I have watched with awe how he is able to retain foreign people who had come over here and worked on our own terms, and still I think he maintains very good relationships with most of them. You know, the entire life story of Captain Krishnan Nair is a very interesting one. I think that this could be a subject for a movie in future. I mean, if there are any movie makers here, you should make a movie about it. I think certainly it will be a very, it will be a hit movie, I'm sure. And the way his life is being written about as in a biography, I think that can form the basis of the screenplay. Anyway, from a very modest beginning as a lower middle class child of a government official, one of 8 children, he has been able to show an upward growth right from then. The Raja of Chirakkal, came to his school, which was sponsored by him, and at the age of 10, I've heard that he wrote a poem which impressed the Raja so much that he immediately gave him 1,000 rupees, which must have been a lot of money in those days. And he also promised that a lifelong scholarship will be given to him as long as he wants to study, which he made use of for his studies subsequently in Madras. But, joining the freedom fighter movement at the age of 13, meeting with AKG at a very young age, leading student demonstrations from school kids, and then going on to meet very, very important people like Subhash Chandra Bose. If you see his the contacts which he has had, like the Frontier Gandhi, VP Menon, who was the advisor to Lord Mountbatten, and Sheikh Abdullah, and the generals in the army who he had worked with as ADC, GB Pant, in addition to Pandit Nehru himself, particularly after creating the All India Handloom Board. When he was in the textile business, he had been able to have close contact with Pandit Ji. All this is very exceptional. And his stint in the army, particularly as a wireless officer and later in the Maratha Light Infantry, was a learning process. But his entire life changed, I think, since the time he met and married Mrs. Leela Krishnan Nair. I think in 1950 the marriage took place, if I am not mistaken, and from then onwards he went on to the marketing of products, handloom products abroad, not only the products made by her illustrious industrialist father, but also others. And after quitting the army, he used all his discipline and his innovation in international marketing, which took him to various hotels around the world. And everybody knows that in about 30 years, that is by about 1980, he was a very wealthy man. And what would have been written off as a disaster, bleeding Madras, he converted it into a real marketing masterpiece, I think. That was nothing short of a marketing masterpiece. You had a fabric which used to run color when you put it in water, and this was a time when blue jeans also did the same thing. So maybe the Americans thought this is something like that, and every time you wash it, it comes with a different color, and that became the rage, and that is where he made a lot of money. If that is not innovation, what is innovation? So, by about 1980, this property, about 4-acre property in North Bombay had come, and the Shahar International Airport came here. I think it was in 80 or 81 it had come. Then, I think the credit always, Captain Krishnan Nair says the credit goes to Mrs. Leela Krishnan Nair. She said, why didn't you start a hotel here in this place? And he said, I didn't have the expertise, but she persisted. And then, as Prince Vaidyan was saying earlier, SBI refused him. But what I heard was that he went over to all his contacts, exporters of or importers of handloom textiles in the US and so on, and made them contribute about $5,000 each. And $5,000 each was not such a big amount in those days, because the exchange rate was only about 5 rupees for $1 or so. But $5,000 each was contributed from 200 people or so, and that became the capital with which he could go and borrow and create the empire which he is presiding over now. very, very, interesting things have happened as far as Kerala is concerned, because he's always shown a great interest to Kerala, particularly to Kannur. Those of you who have been keeping touch with Kerala know that the Kannur International Airport almost entirely owes its existence to the initiative taken by Captain Krishnan Nair. Nobody would have thought that, after having an airport in Mangalore and another one in Malappuram, it's supposed to be Calicut, but it's actually in Malappuram, you can have one more airport, international standard airport in Kannur. And right from the time I met him, along with Sushila Gopalan, he has been talking about this. And he has also taken it further to have an international stadium and convention center in Kannur, his hometown. And I think that this commitment is something which I really appreciate him about. There are a lot of people who come from Kerala who really become big in whatever field they work, and then they forget about Kerala. But he has strong roots. He always goes back to his roots in Kerala. The list of awards he has got is mind-boggling. I think it was he got the Golden Globe Award when I was Secretary for Industries and Commerce, and in fact, Mrs. Sushila Gopalan asked me to write a letter congratulating you for that. I think that was for the export in clothing, which was done, it was given by the Ministry of Textiles at that time. And earlier, I think in 1999, when also I was working as Industry Secretary, the UNEP, United Nations Environment Programme's Global 500 Laureate of Honor was received from none other than the Emperor of Japan by Captain Krishnan Nair. These are exceptional awards. In 2002, the Uday Singh Award, again for environmental protection, came to him. And long before this, the awards for environment were popular in India, he was getting all these awards. In 2010, he got the Hotelier of the Century Award from International Hotel and Restaurants Association in Geneva, and the Green Hotelier Award also a couple of years before that. Recently, you know that he had got the Padmabhushan in 2010. I was in Delhi too, sir, but you may not have, we may not have met, because one of my cousins, Professor Somasundaram, who is also from Kerala, who is a professor of, he is a professor in Columbia University. He got a Padma Shri at that same function. I was also present there. As you know, his hero, even now, I think, is Subhash Chandra Bose. And he always says that if Subhash Chandra Bose was still living, India would have been the most advanced nation in the world. And he believes it. And another statement which he says is that bureaucracy is the biggest bane. I belong to the bureaucracy, sir. But even then, I appreciate it, because I too believe that bureaucracy often stands in the way of progress, particularly in the case of entrepreneurs and helping entrepreneurs. There are exceptions, like states like Gujarat are now having very good reception for entrepreneurs. The state of Maharashtra is not lacking also in that. You are very advanced. But there are other states, particularly our state, Kerala, which really are not up to the mark, which we have to shamefully admit. And I would say that, after receiving all these awards, Hotelier India Awards, Condé Nast Travel Awards in 2011, Times Travel Academy Awards 2011, all this when I was in Mumbai, you had received, sir. And I had called to thank you all, to congratulate you also. I think that only thing I can do now is to wish him and his inspiration, that is his wife, Srimati Leela Krishnan Nair, years of health, happiness and prosperity, and may his life be a model for aspiring entrepreneurs. May his life be a model for aspiring entrepreneurs who are going to be the wealth of India, not only in the hospitality industry, but in all other sectors. I wish that the Leela group, headed by both his sons, Vivek Nair and Dinesh Nair, who are also my friends, and by the next generation, will lead India into a new era of hospitality standards, not only within the country, but globally. I once again thank you, sir, for patiently listening to all this. I may have been rambling, and I also thank the KK Foundation for having been given an opportunity. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Radhakrishnan, for your sharing your thoughts today, and especially for all those people who are gathered here, the story of Dr. Captain Krishnan Nair today. And since you mentioned in English, I think most of them would have followed also. Thank you very much for coming all the way from Kerala and gracing this occasion and felicitating our chief patron, Dr. Captain Krishnan Nair. Now, may I request our next Dr. James to come and say his story or the way he wants to put it about Captain Nair. Thank you.